you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Bromford and Hodge Hill Ward Forum, which we are dedicating to the Bromford Regeneration project. I'm Councillor Diane Donaldson, and I'll be chairing this meeting. Before we start, can I ask you all to mute your microphones and unless you're speaking. And can you keep your mobile phones on silent and ensure there's no background noise which can disrupt the, we'll get back so we don't get any background feedback. I confirm this is a public meeting and it's being live streamed on the City Council's website in order that the general public can view it. This meeting will be webcast for live or subsequent broadcast via the Council's meeting YouTube site. And members of the press public may record and take photographs except where they're confidential or exempt items. Moving on to apologies. I've received apologies from Jonathan Webster from Parks, Diane Capwer from HS2, who's given me a briefing which I'll read out later, and Jonathan's items has been passed on to Ron Williams, so he'll update on Jonathan's brief. Anyone else? And we've got Mark Gamble. He sent his apologies as well, and he's down. Unfortunately, he's contracted COVID. So during the meeting, we'll be using the chat function in Microsoft Teams to communicate. So after the presentations, if anybody would like to ask questions, please use the chat function. Just type speak into the chat and then I'll take questions in order of when they arrived. So I'll make some introductions now. So in the meeting, I'll be chairing the meeting. My name's Councillor Diane Donaldson. With me, we have Councillor Majid Mahmood. And we have Ron Williams from Birmingham City Council, who will be updating on the Bromford Regeneration Scheme. And Golby Imke from the Environmental Agency, who will be updating on the Flood Defence Scheme. So after the presentation, if you'd like to ask questions, just type in the chat and then we'll ask the questions to the various presenters. Okay, with that, thank you. Ron, would you like to update on the latest news on the regeneration? Thank you.
Okay, you just bear with me a minute. Okay. I'll share my screen and I'll get started. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes, yeah, we can see that.
Okay. What you should be seeing on your screen at this point in time is a map showing the location of all the sites currently being looked at for housing development on Bromford. Yeah, those are all the areas currently showing as red. Yeah, the areas showing as a yellowy colour, which I'm just moving my cursor around, are the sites of the ex-Stoney and Bailey Tower. Those two are the sites which are currently under construction. The other areas in red are currently being designed up, and I've had pre-planning application prepared for the majority of them, and we hope later this year to be able to submit them for full planning. Okay, that should give you an idea of the spread of what we're currently doing. The other three areas, the ones that are shown in green, which are by the Bromford dry shops, up by Comet Park, and up by Berlindale. Those are the areas of public open space where the improvement work will be funded on the back of the housing development. There is other public open space works going on at the old original Bromford Drive play areas, which are being refurbished. and we're looking to start on site on that during March, with a view to completing it no later than June. Just to remind everybody, just switch. Okay. What you should be seeing on your screens at the moment is the layout for the Bromford Drive play area, which is being refurbished. Yep, that's the project currently being run by Jonathan Webster, who unfortunately can't be with us tonight. But what we are being told at the moment is the contract has been let to a contractor who is due to start on site, we think, by the end of March. Yeah, if that date changes, we will communicate that to the community as quickly as we possibly can. But at this point in time, we have no reason to believe that this work will not start before the end of March and is a programme to complete before the start of June this year. Okay, we'll take questions on that later. The other area of public open stage, which we had hoped to start on this year, which is being delayed, is the work around the shops on Bonfire Drive. Now, on your screens, you should be seeing the layout as produced by Jonathan Webster and his team at Landscape Practice Group, which is showing improvement works to the public open space around the shops with a small play area. That was submitted for planning approval earlier this year, and a couple of weeks ago, planning approval was granted. So the next step is to seek approval from Birmingham City Council's cabinet to basically appoint a contractor to do those works. We hope to be on site this year. Obviously, there's been an awful lot of work put in by your ward members, council officers, and work with the local community who've helped with the wider consultation on this. So thanks to everybody who's actually inputted on this and got us this far. The other areas of public open space I will remind you we will be working on is round by Comet Park. Now, hopefully there will be a planning application submitted at the same time as we submit the housing scheme, because the two are interconnected, and we hope to be in a position to do that later this year. And the same will go for the area up by Berlindale. Sometime in the next few months, we hope to be in a position to basically start the more detailed consultation on the actual layout of the proposed play area for Berlindale. That will be handled by Jonathan Webster's team, but obviously, as Jonathan's not available to be with us tonight, that's about as much as I can tell you. But this one will be, in terms of the delivery, it will be attached to the Berlindale Road housing scheme, though I expect to have the planning approval in place long before the Berlindale housing work actually commences. Okay, let's just move on. Right. On your screen, you are seeing the housing layout for the proposed housing construction work at Comet Park. Yeah. Now, the proposal at the moment is to create 20 new houses, which will provide a degree of overlooking to the public open space there, which will enable us to fund some works to improve the layout of the open space and improve the outdoor gym equipment around there. It'll also entail a significant amount of improvement to some of the footpath links in that area. And I say we hope to be in a position to submit that for planning later this year. At the moment, the delay on the planning approvals is we are being asked to do a planning statement, which basically shows how all the proposed works we are proposing to undertake on public open space across this estate links in with existing strategic planning policies nationally, locally, and how we're actually meeting those policy requirements. So effectively, the statement will articulate those planning policies, then state what the public open space situation looked like before we started any construction work and what it will look like by the time we complete and how we get from A to B. That's a significant piece of work which we expect to take about the next 3 months to get sorted. But after that, we expect to be in position to submit planning applications for most of those housing sites shown on the map I showed you earlier. Okay. What we are aiming to do, because there's been quite a few delays recently to our housing schemes, is that we are aiming to basically produce the housing in 3 tranches. It's probably better I skip forward a bit just to update on where we are and remind everybody about where we started. The first 2 housing sites have been the old Stonycroft Tower site and the old Bailey Tower site. On your screen at the moment, you should be seeing the housing layout for Bailey. Now, if anybody's been out on site recently, well, what you'll be seeing is there's a significant amount of progress being made on that site. What was supposed to have happened was that Stonycroft was supposed to be the site that got built up first, and Bailey following. Unfortunately, due to the disruption caused last year by the Severn Trent Fatberg, that has delayed some of the service diversions, mainly Openreach, which those diversions are required before we can start building the majority of the houses on the Stonycroft site. Now, that work has not started. It's a year late. So in order to limit the impact on the overall programme, we've flipped the build programme. So they're starting on the Bailey site and making significant progress. Okay. We will be delivering 53 homes overall. 25 will be on Bailey and 28 on Stonycroft. Currently, we're anticipating that the first units will be ready for occupation in September this year, and the final unit will be available no later than March next year. Okay, just move back. Just to give you an idea of where we are and the sort of look we are hoping to achieve on the estate. The next 2 sites we are aiming to bring forward will be Comet, which I've shown you earlier, and the site off Dreghorn Road, which was the old Pine Special School site, where we're aiming to put roughly 8 new units. Now, what we're showing you at the moment on site is a proposed housing layout, which has gone through pre-app. So we were not anticipating major problems when this actually goes to full planning. To give you an idea of what that's actually going to look like in 3D, this is a layout of how we think these houses are actually going to look. So it'll be a modern sort of look, but with a red brick. Somewhat different from what we are currently doing on Bailey and Stony, where we have a kind of grayer brick at the bottom and a buff. So it's a 2-tone effect. Okay. Other sites currently being progressed. On your screens at the moment, I'm showing you the housing layout for Berlindale, which is currently progressing. Now, we've had to do a redesign on this following the change to zero carbon units. We've been able to keep the housing layout the same, but the apartment blocks have changed. Whereas having 2 large blocks, one across the back here and one down the side by the A road, it's been deemed that that won't work very well to meet those requirements, and therefore they've been split from 2 to 5 apartment blocks, none of which will be more than 3 stories high. But overall, we're anticipating that we will be able to produce a mix of houses, whereby we're looking at roughly, I think it's a few 2-beds, a few 3-beds, and some 4-beds and a handful of 5s. there'll be a significant amount of apartments obviously shown in those blocks. We've still got a bit of work to do on that, mainly to stress test the locations of those blocks. We are waiting to get on site to do some surveys with regards to the drainage, so we can be clear exactly where they're located and what the way leaves are going to be, which will affect where the actual blocks can be actually located. We're mainly concerned about the ones on the right hand side of your screen, because obviously we don't want to be in a position to submit it from planning until we're 100% certain that they will be in the correct location, and won't be impinging on the way leave requirements for any drains. Okay. The other one I want to bring to your attention, which has made quite a lot of progress, and we have yet to be able to share this in our normal public arenas, is the development of the site immediately opposite the shops at Bromford Drive. This is the site of the old Holbrook Tower, where we are looking to produce a totally different look from what we've seen on the estate and designed up to date. Again, this is primarily a housing development with some apartment blocks in there, but the look is very different from what you'll be seeing on the rest of the estate. On your screen, you should now be seeing an image of what we think that development will look like. It will be a new, the phrase has been used, iconic look for this end of the estate, something which will raise the profile and look of the centre of Bromford Estate. So we'll be consulting in more detail over the next few months on this one with the surrounding households. Okay, the other look which we are aiming to achieve, which will be a slightly different one for the smaller infill sites. I'm showing on your screen at the moment the layouts for the Cheltenham Drive. There's quite a few sites where we are looking at which are small, 1 to 5 units roughly. Yeah, and where we are doing that, the look will be slightly different. On your screen, I'm showing you a street scene which is more in keeping with the sort of brick palette we're looking at for Stonycroft and Bailey. It'll be a buff and grey. Okay, right. Just to remind everybody, you know, when we did the consultation on the play area over at the shops, yep, the area around the shops on Bromford Drive, showing on your screen is a red line plan of all those properties, households that were consulted, yeah, which is a significant number of people. We will be seeking to roughly duplicate this range when we go out and do the consultation for the area around Berlindale to produce the play area there. Okay, now there are other layouts, but I'm not going to go through those tonight, because what I want to do is start the process of doing drop-in sessions on the estate where people can come in and take the time to have a look at what we're producing, ask questions, give us feedback. The first of those is due to kick off on the 12th of March, which is a Saturday, at Ambridge House. Now, Councillor, I think that's all I need to say tonight. So if anybody's got any other questions, I'm open to take questions.
Are there anyone wanting to ask questions? It's Mahmood.
Yeah, hi, Chair. And thank you, Ron, for the presentation. And really good to see that you're back in good health as well, and back to full fitness to assist us here at the council. A tremendous amount of work has gone into the planning of this project. It's not been easy with COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously with Brexit as well, that's caused issues around materials, and obviously, you know, the way we've been working has changed considerably over the last 2 years, but we've persevered and we've got to a stage now where we can see some light at the end of the tunnel, which is really pleasing. I mean, the main queries we get, myself and Diane, is around the Bromford North Park, which is the park situated on Bromford Drive. And you mentioned that end of March, there should be a handover in place and we can start ordering and getting some equipment together. One of the key questions that's always been asked is, will the park be opened up for the Easter holidays? And if not, when will it be open? Because obviously our children around the Bromford and Hodge wider ward have missed out on having a play area for such a long time, firstly because of COVID and now because of the delays in the works. And now Environment Agency also working as fast as they possibly can. But again, we understand the difficulties that they've experienced. At the former Warstone Tower site, thankfully we got planning approval a few weeks back for that, which was really pleasing. Again, tremendous amount of work has gone into that. You mentioned that we need cabinet approval. Is that going to be in the sense of a cabinet report going to cabinet? And when are we likely to have that? Because obviously PERDA kicks in with the local elections looming in May, in 2 or 3 weeks. Will it get into cabinet before then? Because I know they're still allowed to hold cabinet meetings during PERDA, but they try not to.
My understanding is that this will be treated as business as normal. Yeah. The draft report has already been produced by John before he went off, and it's currently on my desk for me to add the financial implications. So I'll be working with his line manager over the next week or so to fine tune that and put it back into the system.
That's great.
How long it takes to be determined, I can't say, but we will have it back in the system next week.
Okay, brilliant. And then around the public open space, I know there's a new piece of work that you have to carry out for the City Council around the public open space, and you'd have to take into account all the public open spaces, I'm guessing, around the Bromford. Is that specific towards like having the boundaries of the Bromford estate, or is that wider afield in terms of the Hodge part of the ward as well?
No, it's particularly around Bromford because it's the argument we are making at this point in time is that it does not make sense to view the public open space improvement works that will be taking place in isolation, because they are connected as part of a plan of linked POS, which was consulted on with yourselves and the wider community several years ago. It's just taken a while to come to fruition.
And that will also include the Berlindale Road site as well. That's quite expensive.
Berlindale Road site and the area by Comet, what is currently called Comet Park, the Bluebell Walk link.
Okay, and just on the Comet Park site, sorry, my son he's not happy the park's not coming to fruition at the end of March. He was looking forward to playing, so he's just realised when he heard us talking. The new play equipment on the Comet Park last time, a few years back, when we initially installed some equipment on the Comet Park, there was a lot of kickback from the residents. So I'm assuming before we even agree on any equipment or anything that's going to happen around that part of the ward, we will have extensive consultation with the neighbours that are living next to that part of the ward as well, because I would hate to go through putting equipment in and then the residents aren't happy with what we've done.
Okay, my understanding at the moment was the plan from Parks, who Landscape Pest Group represent, was to basically reuse the majority of the outdoor gym equipment. So which obviously has been underutilized, but their view was if it is overlooked, then they can improve the area around it and create an environment where people will finally use that equipment. The level of consultation we'll need to take up with Jonathan. Normally, obviously, if he's going to do any major public open space works, he goes out to consultation.
Brilliant, thanks, Ron. And just on, obviously, we're having all these new properties built, and we've had this discussion before with both residents and with officers on amending the housing allocation policy. And when the initial report came to us, I think 2018, and the second report 2020, we did put in our comments as elected members that we would want to see a change in the allocation of property so that locals within the Bromford themselves, because obviously they've got children at the school, they know the area, they've got a community, that they have some form of priority. I did hear something on the grapevine that around the Druids Heath regeneration, whether there's something been agreed there, and if they have had something agreed there to amend the housing allocation policy, then surely we should be able to have the same here on the Bromford.
Okay, my understanding is that on areas such as Druid Heath is where we've had the demolition, i.e. clearance, taking place, because the current allocation policy basically stipulates that there can be consideration of a local lettings policy if there is an active clearance taking place in the area. Now, unfortunately, where we are on Bromford, all the demolition took place before I started doing the main bulk of the design work for these new housing and submitted them for planning. So unfortunately, we don't get the benefit of that part of the allocation policy. Yeah. So I'm being told at this point in time that we do not have the specific exemptions required in order to have a local lettings policy on Bromford. Yeah, people will be able, if they've got the relevant points, to submit, but priority will be to people in clearance and on the existing waiting list.
Okay, I mean, again, we're still going to try again one more time for residents, and I think perhaps, Chair, we could write into the cabinet member responsible and the director responsible to see if there can be a change to that, because obviously we've got so many people. I had 5 site visits over the weekend to properties on the Bromford, and all of them had their own specific issues around the maintenance of those properties. So that's something I think we do need to look into. But thank you very much for that, Ron. And on the 12th of March, we've got this community event, which is an open event for all residents. Will you be able to bring maps that you've just shown us on the laptop today, larger scale maps to that event as well, please?
I will be trying to get larger scale ones on for those, but I will be producing some plans. I'll see what scale I can actually do. I have secured the display boards because I managed to go into Lancaster Circus today to have a chat with the builders managers, so I will be able to have those available now for the 12th of March. We just need to now do some work in terms of getting the plans printed out of the appropriate sizes. It'll be the plans I've just shown you and all the layouts we have done to date on all the other smaller individual sites.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Thank you for the presentation, excellent presentation. Thank you for all your hard work. I know it's been a real challenge, and there's always new challenges emerging, but when we first started these meetings, we had a very high attendance, and I can see that as we're moving forward and making progress, the attendance at meetings is becoming less and less. So one assumes that the residents are now happy with the progress that's being made, and there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. So just to reiterate about the meeting, it will be held on the 12th of March, Saturday the 12th of March at Ambridge House, and that will be held from midday till 4 p.m. so people can drop in and out as they wish. We've just had a resident come into the meeting, so I'd just like to say hello and welcome to Mohammed Kahir. If he'd like, as he didn't have the opportunity, would you like to ask any questions to Ron Williams about the regeneration side?
Just a quick one. He might have mentioned it already. Is estimated timescales for when the work's now likely to be completed, especially on the children's play areas, which we're sort of coming up slowly to summer. We don't want another summer without the kids having somewhere to go.
Ron, would you like to come in and respond, please?
Yeah, hello, Mohammed. I did say earlier before you joined the meeting, the current programme is to start the works on the refurbishment of the play area on Bromford Drive during March, before the end of March, because that's when we should get it handed back to us from the Environment Agency, with a view to completing it before the start of June. That's the current timescale. If anything alters, we'll let you know, but at this point in time, that's not anticipated.
Mohammed, if you'd like to come along on the 12th of March to Ambridge House, then you can see the plans in more detail and ask more questions there.
Will do.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so I don't believe we have any more questions for Ron, so I'll move on to our next presentation from Imke Golby from the Environmental Agency, who will update on the flood defence scheme. Thank you, Imke. Right, you're on mute, I think. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. No.
Still on mute, Imke.
Is the volume turned down or your headphones unplugged or something?
I'll just take my headphones off.
That's
Can you
to
hear
hear
me
you now. Yeah, something to do with the headphones.
It is something to do with the headphones. My
Yeah.
apologies about that. Right. I shall do a presentation to you as well, so I'll just get that on screen. And can you see that in front of you now? Yeah, brilliant. Right then, so I'm Imke Golby, as already mentioned, from the Environment Agency, and I just want to present about the update basically on progress on the Bromford flood risk management scheme. At the last meeting, I already did this summary sheet already, so you'll recognise this. So the scheme that we're doing is to reduce the risk of flooding from the River Tame in the area that you can see on the screen. So all of the bits in dark blue are the bits that we're protecting from flood, that we're reducing the risk of flooding to. As you can see, that's a lot of Bromford. It will reduce the risk of flooding to 1,500 plus properties, residential properties in both Bromford and Cllr. And the scheme is over 4.5 kilometres long from through Bromford, through Cllr, and then down to Water Orton. And I always think it's worth mentioning because often the residents of Bromford only see the work we're doing in Bromford itself. However, there's various elements of the scheme that we have to dip in and out of. So sometimes you don't see us working in Bromford. It's because we're working somewhere else on the scheme. So it's always worth mentioning. So we came to you for a meeting in October time and provided you with an update then, which was a bit bigger because it had a lot more information about what we'd done in the year before. The progress update now is a bit smaller because it's only been a few months. So the main things that we've been focusing on since the last forum meeting is first of all, finding a solution and carrying out remedial work on the drainage issue by the play areas. I'll be showing you timescale in a minute, but that has been delayed a little because of the red weather over recent weeks. We had hoped to start actually doing the physical work already, but at the moment it's pretty waterlogged after all of the rain we've had. So we have to wait a little while, and are liaising with Birmingham City Council about making sure that that doesn't mean that if we slip by a week or two, hopefully that won't have that impact on Birmingham City Council and the work that they need to do on the play area. So we're having weekly meetings, updates with them on that. Finalising work on the flood defence walls. So most of that is pretty finished now. We're still doing a bit of tie-ins with the embankment. So you may see some work happening there. finishing the blacktop surface on the cyclopass, and that is now completely finished, but we still need to do a layer of chippings over the top of that. And then landscaping and grass seeding. We've started some of the landscaping. We even started some of the grass seeding, but a lot of that will continue to happen. Grass seeding is best done in spring, so you'll see some of that happening as and when we're finishing work on the embankment. Once grass is seeded, it needs time to establish before we can reopen sections of working areas again. So again, that's when it gets quite frustrating for residents, because they can see that there's nothing happening and they wonder why we've not opened it yet. And that's normally because grass seeding hasn't established well enough yet for us to open it up again. And if we open it up too soon, the place becomes a mud bath, and then we'll have to reseed again, we'll have to close it again, and it just becomes an ongoing thing. So it's definitely worth the extra rate for that. However, so the timescales now based on all of that. So we are still aiming for the 18th of March 2022 for the handover of the play area to Birmingham City Council. But as I said, some of the remedial work that we had hoped to have started has been delayed because of the weather recently. And we hope to make sure that that is rectified as soon as possible. We'll be able to get on the ground as soon as possible. If it does slip by a week or two, we'll hope that that we can work that out with Birmingham City Council to make sure that that doesn't mean a slippage of the opening of the play area. End of May 2022 is when we finish all of the construction in the wider park area. However, from before that time, we will look at what sections we can open as and when. After May 2022, there will still be sections closed because grass seeding hasn't happened yet, or because of not necessarily grass seeding hasn't happened, grass seeding hasn't established yet, or because we're still having some snagging issues to sort out before we hand it back to Birmingham City Council. So end of May doesn't mean the whole park will be open. It's just when construction is definitely finished, and then you'll see the park open bit by bit over the coming months. In spring, summer 2022, that is when we expect the wider park to be open. There is still a little bit of construction and still happening at the Bromford side of the scheme, and that is the turning circle at the recycling centre. We expect that work to be taking place by October 2022. And once that is completed, we can safely say that 893 homes have got a reduced risk of flooding, most of them in the Bromford area. We still continue to work on the other side of the river for quite a while longer, and the full scheme construction will be completed by the end of 2023, but you won't be impacted as much by that as residents of Bromford. By that stage, we'll have another 696 homes with a reduced risk of flooding. Right, so that's the timescale. So community engagements going forward. So although we continue to engage with the community during COVID, it was definitely reduced, and it was very much by doing things like these ward forums on MS Teams and sending out newsletters. But we've now started going out to people more again. We started working with the school. We've got a presentation to their year 6 on the 11th of March, and we'll be doing some work with them on their how do you call it, the out of school learning area, the forest education area. And yeah, we're doing a few things with them. One of the things we're thinking of doing is a mural on 2 of the walls, the flood walls, working with a local artist who will work with the school and the local community to develop a mural on 2 of the walls. So we're doing that over coming months. some of the other community engagement we're doing is obviously these forum meetings that we continue to attend as and when necessary. Obviously at the moment that's constant, that's every time you have one, we're happy to attend. We re-established in November the regular partnership meetings that we had prior to COVID with councillors, community group representatives, the council and the MP. We had one again this morning and we have one again in April. Then, as Ron and the councillors already mentioned, we'll hold a number of engagement events in partnership with Birmingham City Council over the coming months, starting with the drop-in session on the 12th of March, which has already been well advertised during this meeting. Just want to make people aware that we're happy to attend any meetings of local groups to update and answer any concern as and when invited. So feel free to contact us and ask us to come along to any of your sessions. We continue to send out the regular newsletters to our mailing list, and we've got quite a few people on there, but definitely not the whole of Bromford. So please do be added to our mailing list. And we continue to be available by email and over phone, as we have been throughout the COVID period as well. As if we've not mentioned it enough yet, the drop-in event on the 12th of March. We'd like to invite you to, we're doing it together with Birmingham City Council. We hope to get HS2 there as well. And will hopefully be a good face-to-face opportunity. I've actually got down from 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock, Councillor Donaldson, so we just need to make sure that we realign our message on that one. But it's definitely at Ambridge House.
Well, I've actually booked the room from 12 o'clock, so that's...
yeah, I thought that was for set up. But yeah, we'll just have to make sure that when we communicate it further that we're clear on whether it's 12 or 1. But it is a drop-in, so definitely any time from 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock, and possibly before. Yeah, so that event, it is a drop-in, but we have got to be conscious still of COVID measures. So it may mean that people have to wait outside if it's busy, to make sure that there's not too many people in the room. But we'll manage that as and when during the day. Right, and then my last slide, I've kept this really quite quick, I hope, is have you got any questions? And here are my contact details. Right, I'll end my slideshow.
Thank you for pulling this together. It's a really good presentation, and as with you've had a lot of challenges going over the last couple of years, as has Ron, and yeah, well, thanks for your hard work and pulling this all together for us tonight. I'll open it out to the floor if there are any questions. I see Councillor Majid's got his hand up, so would you like to come in?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mickey, for the presentation. You worked extremely hard over the last few years now, not even a few months, bringing this project together, something that, you know, both myself and the Chair have been largely supportive of from the outset, because in the end goal of this is to protect more than 1,500 properties from the risk of flooding. Though we get lots of residents saying, oh, but we've never been flooded. But the point is, we're stopping the risk of you've been flooded in the future. And if you looked at some of the scenes, you know, we've had 3 storms. You've mentioned the wet weather. We've had Storm Dudley, Storm Eunice, and Storm Franklin in the space of a fortnight. And that can happen again. And I've seen parts of Bewdley and Worcester that have been flooded. And, you know, God forbid if that ever was to happen here. But we're putting in what we can. And I know there's other parts of the city and the region who are quite envious of the fact that we've managed to secure this funding in our area. And once this is complete, not only will it protect 1,500 properties, but it'll also bring, you know, nice landscape to it. And you're already working with some local groups and individuals in getting some murals together again. It would be good actually if there's obviously we've got quite a number of schools near to the Bromford North Park and where the flood defence is going to be. So you've got Hodge Primary, Hodge Girls, Hodge College, Braidwood as well, special school for deaf children. You've got Tame Valley, you've got the First Primary and some else. If you could, possibly myself and Diane could do that for you, just contact them to see if they would be interested in just a presentation from the Environment Agency and see, you know, around the flood defences. and if there's any questions that the pupils themselves have around the work that we've been doing, because they're the ones who have suffered probably the most in this, because they've not had access to the park for near enough 2 years now. So I think it would be really good so they get a sense of understanding and they get a sense of ownership, because once this park, the Bromford North Park, once you've completed the flood defences, it's for the protection of the future generation. So it's for them. And I think it's something that they should take ownership of and work hand in hand with both yourselves and the council in taking ownership of that. So the more children we get involved in that, the more that we can better inform them and understand what we've been doing in the last few years around Bromford, I think would be brilliant. And the first step in that would be obviously the community engagement event on the 12th of March. And again, if we can make contact with local school children around those specific schools, because they're the ones that where children live close by, so they'll probably use the facilities around, and they will see the end result of this. And I drive past that way every day to work, and it's looking every day I see it's more and more progress is being made, and it looks much better. And the part of, you mentioned that we may be able to open up sections of the park. I think that would be brilliant if we could do that. So at least we can give some play area or just some sort of like quiet space for children and adults to have and to enjoy, as opposed to leaving everything till the latest possible day. I think that would be really good. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Majid. Yeah, excellent point. And no, I don't see any other hands raised. So, Imke, thank you once again. And we'll liaise and we'll get the literature out there for the meetings and possibly liaise with the schools and other work. So thank you once again, and look forward to seeing you on the 12th.
And you.
Thank you. Hold on a moment. I've just got, should have asked earlier, Mohammed Kahir. So is the plan to still have a play area by Tame Valley, or have we reverted to the old play area by the Muga? Mohammed, we're having two play areas. So one by the old play area by the Muga and one by the school.
Well, 3, Chair, if we include the play equipment that would be installed at the common park as well, and Berlindale Road, then it would be 4. So I think from not having a play area for 2 years, you'll end up with too many play areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Mohammed.
Brilliant, thank you.
You're welcome. Right, so no more questions for Imke. I'll move on to the report. It's just a quick report from Duran Katwa from HS2 Balfour BT Vinci. He was unable to attend this evening, but he's just given me a note to read out to you. We have no up and coming significant works that may impact on the local community within and near Bromford and Hodge Hill. We are currently undertaking ground monitoring surveys, ecology works and ground investigations, which are non-intrusive and are highly unlikely to impact on residents in this geographical patch. This said, I did receive 2 inquiries from residents a few weeks ago about noise and vibration. But when I checked, these were nothing to do with our Balfour BT Vinci works. They are, as I'm sure you already know, other contractors working in this area. And I hope that they are continuing to keep you posted on their works. This said, the health and well-being and safety of communities remain a high priority for us. So if anyone you come across has any concerns, questions, or needs any clarification, please feel free to give them my contact details and I shall do my best to assist. No question or query is a silly one, and I would encourage anyone pondering on anything to do with construction works in the local area to get in touch, should they need to. Okay, so if anyone's got any questions that they'd like around HS2 or the works, please feel free to contact me, or I can give you the details of Duran Katwa. Councillor Mahmood.
Yeah, just on that, Chair, we've been approached by a number of business owners who have got businesses just off Bromford Drive who've had communication from HS2. Initially, they thought it was compulsory purchase orders for their properties. it's not compulsory purchase orders. It was just to allow them to extract subsoil from way beneath their properties. And I think there's a small amount of compensation available as well. Just in case someone's watching this and they're worried that there is compulsory purchase orders happening on the Bromford, they're not happening. It's just for the subsoil.
I think all the business owners are satisfied now with they've had the letters and they've raised the queries with HS2, and they're satisfied that it's not their buildings are going to remain, and they are aware it is just the subsoil. So I think everybody who was affected is satisfied with the communications now. Okay, so don't think there's anything else to report on. If there are any general questions that people would like to ask, feel free to do it. No, so once again, I will remind everybody that we have the meeting, the open day on the 12th of March, which is a Saturday, which we've established now will be open from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. So feel free to come along whenever you want to. And our next ward forum will be on the, it's on
the 17th,
17th,
Councillor.
yeah, 17th of March. Thank you. Right, well, thank you everyone for coming along, and thank you everyone for making your to Ron and Imke for your presentations, and we look forward to seeing you in the near future. Good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Good night.